Welcome to Lab 1, which is constant velocity. The introduction, the purpose of Lab 1 was to create a velocity versus time graph and model the motion of an object traveling with constant velocity using two different modeling softwares, Tracker and GlowScript. The data for this lab was recorded by the Tracker software, where the object of choice, a marker in this scenario, was pushed at a constant velocity along a meter stick as the calibration tool. This lab utilizes the position update formula with a constant velocity to create the graphs. For results preview, there are small displacement differences along each time point, which will be explored later on, but their slopes are pretty similar. For our equations and principles, the largest principle in this case is the momentum principle, which is outlined here using the velocity update formula and the position update formula. The momentum principle actually comes into play in the code, which will be explored later, but the velocity update formula essentially proves that there is no change in velocity and that it is constant because our net force is zero as it is constant. Our procedure is a marker was placed on the whiteboard next to a meter stick so Tracker can properly calibrate the marker's position after uploading a video of the marker rolling to Tracker. Manual movement positions at small time increments were used on Tracker to give us a graph of the marker's motion when the velocity appeared to be considered constant. After that, the mass of the marker was taken to be implemented into GlowScript, where we could use the model code to update our data with. The system in our experiment is the marker and the surroundings are the whiteboard it is rolling on. The initial conditions are incredibly important in this case. Friction is negligible along with air resistance. So the only force on the marker is the instantaneous force applied by my hand that creates the constant velocity. Over here, you can see the initial conditions. The mass of the marker was 14 grams, so that's 0.14 kg. And then here we have the position vector starting and the velocity vector. The y and z coordinates are 0 as we are only dealing in the x-axis, and both of these values for the x position and the x velocity was found using Tracker when the velocity was considered constant. It started at about 0.033 seconds, and each movement increment is recorded about every 0.017 seconds. The Tracker model has three main stages. You actually have to upload the right video. Secondly, you need a calibration tool to properly recognize the actual dimensions you're moving in and make sure you're properly getting out the correct values for your displacement. And then you actually have to plot each point by the center of mass on the marker, which is where error could arise here as the marker is rolling frame by frame here, and you have to do your best to click the center of mass, but that can, like very minuscule differences from the last point, could mess up your final graph, which kind of happened to mine a little bit. Computational model is very straightforward. The while loop essentially starts under the ending time, which was 0.6 seconds. Everything along that is compounded and added up, summed up. The force vector is zeros as the force is constant, so the net force should be zero. And then the momentum principle is applied using the ball.vel and ball.position functions. The ball.vel function is the velocity update, while the ball position is the position update formula. You have the t's, and then that will be plotted on a curve when the function is ran. Comparing the different procedures, they have similar slopes, but there are some jagged differences with the Tracker model, while the computational model using GlowScript is completely linear. The reason for that being human error when clicking the displacement, but also friction and air resistance are not accounted for in GlowScript, but do exist in the Tracker model. They are just kind of swept under the rug. Series 1 here represents Tracker, while Series 2 represents GlowScript. So there are minute differences because of how small the displacement scale and time scale is, but they are still very noticeable in the graphs. Thank you.